But do you really think that the person who's looking at it from the perspective of making a living, which, like you said, certainly I have respect for, but that is a completely different mindset than somebody who's trying to be the best at what they do or the best in the world at what they do. They're not the same people.
That's correct. It's a different form of DNA.
Let's talk about the latter. Let's talk about the person who wants to be the best in the world. Walk me through what it takes to get to that level.
I think first and foremost is a DNA which completely rejects one's own culture. I think the culture in society, in just regular society, the culture in sports, the culture in business, every domain, every discipline has its own culture. And that culture is composed of the prevailing beliefs, dogmas, notions, the traditional way and the status quo of the way that things are done. And I think that a person who has the DNA to completely walk against the grain because they harbor a deep-seated understanding that the masses and the majority and the status quo and the traditions are always wrong, and that they can only lead to a very limited outcome.
And I think anybody who has listened to any of our conversations, read any of your discourses, know that that is a place where you live. You're almost kind of this opposing perspective. And if we can break down this DNA for a moment, let's talk about what that DNA looks like. Certainly, I like to believe that the people who are going to listen and pay attention to our conversations are at least seeking that DNA. It's not something that we're all born with, right? It's something that we have to work towards. And a lot of people talk about, hey, being the best in the world a lot of times isn't fun because it requires rigor, self-discipline, and an enormous commitment that very few people want to make. Would you agree?
Yeah, but it isn't. You're going down the path of hard work. And I don't have much respect for hard work. I think hard work is largely a form of anxiety rather than a natural pursuit. I think hard work is sort of it's a middleman. It's an intermediary. I don't like middlemen. They don't go anywhere. Everything has to be from the horse's mouth to the horse's mouth. And hard work is this idea, well, if I put in the hours, and if I do the quote work, and if I follow the instruction, and if I work day and night, and if I romantically make my hands bleed, and that will buy me something. And I don't think it does. Because I don't think there's a shortage of people who work hard and get nowhere. So I don't buy the idea of hard work being a reliable vehicle to anything, in the same way that I don't buy any intermediary as being a trustworthy and reliable vehicle to getting anywhere. I think everything arises spontaneously when the person has no choice but to, quote, make it. Then he might certainly, quote, put in the hours and certainly devote his life to it. And from an external point of view, as someone who is looking at that person, the person who's watching might say, oh, look, that person's working hard. But that person really isn't using hard work as a vehicle. It isn't like a degree, that if I get my degree, I'll get a job. Mm-hmm. It isn't like that. It's the hard work is secondary. The mania and the obsession and the possibility of not having it simply isn't acceptable. And I'll have to qualify what I just said, because some are going to hear that as positive thinking. And once again, when you reject everything, I have to keep putting disclaimers in, right? So, positive thinking is just nonsense, because the person who makes it knows he's going to make it. He doesn't positive think his way into it. because positive thinking relies upon hope. And the person who doesn't have a choice has no hope. It's just done. It's already done. And therefore, he carries out whatever needs to be done to make it a reality in the real world after it becomes a reality in his mind.